the improvement of science and technology. But what inspired that to improve? It was the increase in population. So that's why we relate the increase in population with the advancement of science and technology. And the more this science and technology improves, as we have said, there was a grand revolution, there was the industrial revolution, and so on. Another thing is the contribution of demographic revolution. Another contribution of demographic revolution to the rise of capitalism, it was the growth and expansion of international trade. The growth and expansion of international trade. Because of increasing population, then it's obvious that you cannot produce everything on your own. In Europe, for instance, the European countries could not, each European country could not produce everything they need on their own. They have to rely upon each other. They have to have what we call international division of labor, in which one country can produce a certain good and other country can produce another certain goods, and then these countries can exchange what they are producing, of course, for the betterments of their country. So this has inspired the expansion of international trading. But also, because of increasing population, it also inspired the rise and expansion of mercantilism, where people started to travel from different areas. People were engaging in business. Remember, when the number of people is very small, it's obvious that people have to concentrate only in one activity. But as the number of people increases, then people will have to diversify themselves by trying to engage in different activities, including trading, including industries, including agriculture, of course, as usual, also businesses and so many other things, and so on and so forth. So this is another very important contribution. My dear students, after looking at the contribution of demographic revolution to the rise of capitalism in Europe, and now I know you know how has it contributed to the rise of capitalism and how important is demographic revolution to the rise of capitalism in Europe, let's now go to another very important part of our discussion, and this is scientific revolution. What is scientific revolution? Scientific revolution was a rapid change in the invention and discoveries in 17th and 18th century. Here there is a full stop, was not supposed to be here. So in 17th and 18th century, this is what we call scientific revolution. There are two things here, my dear students. The first thing, we talk about the invention, and also we talk about the discoveries. So we have got scientific revolution, which include development in science and technology. In science, of course, we discover, and in technology, we always invent. So there is invention and discoveries. And this is what characterized European countries, particularly Britain, during these years I've mentioned, 1700s and 1800s. A lot of discoveries and invention were made to bring changes in different sectors of production. So production also has changed tremendously because of this invention and discoveries. It involves scientific and technological changes which brought revolution in the process of production and transportation, as we are going to see it in detail. My dear students, these are the evidence of scientific and technological discoveries and inventions in Europe. As I told you, we are going to look about these discoveries, and the places where they have happened. The first, we are going to look at the textile industries. Why textile industries? The first areas to develop in terms of scientific and technological changes in Britain, it was textile industries. A lot of changes were made in textile industries starting from 1733, when this man called John Kay discovered a small machine which was called a flying shuttle, a machine which facilitated the production of clothes. Remember, before 1733, production of clothes was done, it was typically done by using hand. But with these discoveries of flying shuttle, at least they started to use some machine. This was a very small device, and this, of course, has simplified the process of spinning in the production of clothes. And then there were another discoveries which was made, invention which was made, and this was the invention of the spinning jenny. this was another great invention of the Industrial Revolution, and this was made by John Hargreaves. Another thing was the invention of cotton gin by Eli Whitney. This is an American in 1794, and this made cotton production to boom prior to introduction of textile industries. In fact, this was the machine which has been designed to remove the cotton seed, from the cotton fibers. So this has speeded up the production, the production of clothes, converting cotton to become ready for production of clothes. Another, this is for the textile industries. Of course, together some other development in textile industries, and in fact by by 1790 already a lot of changes were already by 1790s a lot of changes were already made in the textile production in in Britain and and in some other countries. So this is textile. But another very important technological invention was done by Joseph Aspin. Joseph Aspin in 1824. He devised a patented chemical process for making Portland cement. For making Portland cement. That was 1824. My dear students, you can see this was a very, very important breakthrough. The invention of Portland cement. That was a very important breakthrough. Why? Ask yourself a question. What do you think today we'll be using to make, to construct our houses, to construct bridges, and other different type of civil constructions, if there were no cement? But this invention was made by Joseph Aspin in 1824, and this has brought a lot of changes in the in civil engineering works. A lot of changes in civil engineering works. This is 1824, and another thing is in 1784, Henry Cort succeeded in developing a method of converting a pig iron into wrought iron by heating it frequently, stirring it in the presence of oxidizing substances. This is another very important change which was made regarding the technological and scientific invention in Britain. This also has increased the production of iron. Remember, a lot of things thereafter were produced by using iron. So it was like a very important change. Remember, before that, people were always melting iron by using the very local processes. But the discoveries which was made by Henry Cort has brought a lot of changes to the transformation of iron, as was said, from pig iron to wrought iron. And that iron then was used in the construction of ships, construction of locomotive trains, the construction of railways, line, and so on and so forth. So that was a very important and very major big development. My dear students, another thing is the invention of tarmac road by John McAdams. Tarmac road. I know today we're speaking of macadamized road. Macadamized road were invented by John Adams. We shall come to see more in the Industrial Revolution. This was another very important development which was made by John McAdams. Another thing is the invention which was made by John Worth. This man, of course, has invented a steam engine. And so instead of people using horses at least to pull the car, now people are using steam engine. And the steam engine was using also for pumping water, from the mines and so on. This was another very important development which was made in Britain regarding the scientific and technological revolution. My dear students, let's now very quickly look at the contribution of scientific revolution to the rise of capitalism. How this one has contributed to the rise of capitalism in Britain. How this has contributed to the rise of capitalism in Britain. The first, of course, is the machine replaced human labor to improve production. As we have seen earlier, that people are producing by using hand. People are producing by using hand. They used to have what we call a manual production. But because of the invention of machine, now people are producing by using the machine. And if you use the machine, remember, production always is going to be much more higher than ever before. Another thing is it is simplified transportation of industrial goods and raw materials. We said that there were some improvement in transportation sectors, especially the invention which was made by John McAdams, who invented the tar macadamized rod. And so roads which once used to be rough and seasonal, those roads now have to become good and unseasonal. That means they can be passed throughout the year. That's another very important development which was made in Britain and Europe in general, at least to make up the to encourage or to stimulate the development of capitalism. Another thing is it is speeded up the collapse of feudalism. It is speeded up the collapse of feudalism. Remember, feudalism was always insisting the use of poor productive forces because that is the way they could use to exploit the serf and peasants. But because of the development of science and technology, some new tools of production like tractors, planters, combined harvesters were introduced in agriculture, and that, of course, it encouraged enclosure system and the collapse of feudalism. And remember, where there is feudalism, capitalism cannot rise easily unless feudalism collapses. That means the rise of capitalism, it was the product of collapse of feudalism. So thanks to this scientific and technological revolution that they facilitated the collapse of feudalism and gave rise to the capitalism. Another thing is it brought agrarian revolution. My dear students, we said in our previous subtopics that agrarian revolution, it was all about the application of science and technology in the field of agriculture for qualitative and quantitative improvement of agriculture production. So as you can see, agrarian revolution, therefore, it rose because of the application of science and technology. Remember, we are talking about the scientific and technological revolution. My dear students, another thing is it stimulated the growth of towns, such areas became center for the capitalist investment. The growth of towns, of course, we have said, those areas became the center for the capitalist investment. Why? Of course, as we have said earlier, development of science and technology, it contributed to industrialization. Even some people went there and started to establish their own workshop, and a place which used to have just a small number of people, that area started to grow and become a very big center, and so attracted a lot of capitalists who came to invest in that area. Another thing is it expanded the external and internal market. Of course, we have said it already that it expanded the internal and external market. Also, through qualitative and quantitative improvement of production, it led to demographic revolution. Of course, we have said that increasing population, it was caused by the increase in agriculture production. We have also said it is also the result of the improvement of medical department, medical facilities, and all these things have a lot to do with science and technology. The last point, my dear students, or contribution, is that it paved the way to the rise of bourgeoisie class. The group of people are called the bourgeoisie. In fact, they rose because of these scientific and technological revolutions. By using improved science and technology, people with capital, they were able to increase production. And if somebody used to have a very small capital, in fact, he used to be a petty capitalist, he was able to accumulate quite a large amount of capital and become a capitalist or become a bourgeoisie. So this is another very important contribution of demographic revolution to the rise of capitalism. My dear students, after we have looked for the demographic revolution, the causes, and the contribution of demographic revolution to the rise of capitalism, and as well as the scientific revolution, as well as the contribution of scientific revolution to the rise of capitalism, let us now break for a while and we'll be back to look for the questions that I gave you earlier. Welcome back, my students. Earlier in our study, remember, my dear students, I gave you some questions. And of course, after what we have gone through, now you can find how simple is our questions. Our first question was, analyze the causes of demographic revolution in Britain from 1600 to 1850. This question, of course, is very simple. The causes, just look at the causes. So the first cause, we have said it, was the establishment of public health department. And the second, we said improvement in agriculture. That this has contributed for production of food. And the people said at that time they were able to eat the so-called a balanced diet. The third is improvement of hygiene and sanitation. The diseases which could result because of people being unhygiene, because of the poor sanitation, poor environment, then those diseases were either cured or prevented by improving the hygiene and sanitation of the people's residence, as well as their personal, their personal cleanliness. Another point is introduction of treated water supply. We have mentioned and even show the picture that shows the, the supply of water in London metropolitans in what was called the Chelsea Waterworks. Another point is political stability. Britain was enjoying a very long period of peace, a period without war, and in fact because of that, the number of people who could die because of war, that number was that number was reduced, and for that case, my dear students, it increased the number of people who were living. And another point is the early marriage. Of course, we have mentioned it. When people are getting married at the early age, what we expect the most here is that they are going also to get children at the early age, and their number is going to be very high at the end, because at the time a person reached, let's say, 50 years of age, that person could have a lot of kids, and so on. Another point is the government policy. During medieval time, during mercantilism, the governments of Europe used to have the policy of encouraging populism, encouraging people to get birth and so on. So my dear students, this is our first question. The second question is, demographic revolution accelerated the rise of capitalism in Europe. Substantiate this statement. My dear students, as you can see, we are talking of the rise of capitalism in Europe in relation to demographic revolution. Our first point is expansion of internal market. Of course, we have seen it. The second is expansion of working force, which of course we said encourage division of labor and specialization. Another thing is the rise of working class. We have also discussed about it. And the fourth is it led to the rural-urban migration. Also, it inspired development of science and technology. And finally, the growth and expansion of international trade. These, my dear students, are the answers to our second question. As you can see, it's very simple, because all things I have mentioned here as our points, as our answers to the question, we have already discussed them. Question number 3, relate the Industrial Revolution with scientific and technological changes which occurred in Europe in 18th century. What is the contribution of of scientific and technological changes which occurred in Europe in 18th century with the Industrial Revolution? Our first point here, my dear students, is that machine replaced human labor to improve production. Of course, we have said about it, that it is simplified transportation of industrial goods and raw materials from one area to another. And here we are talking of the improvement of transportation sectors, things like improvement of roads, improvement of canals, also the establishment of railway system. All these were the product of development of science and technology. Also, it speeded up the collapse of feudalism. Feudalism collapsed, as we have said. It brought agrarian revolution. It stimulated the growth of towns. Such areas became the center of capitalist investment. Also, it expanded the external and internal market. Also, we have said about it. Also, through qualitative and quantitative improvement of production, it led to demographic revolution. Of course, we said it. Particularly improved in agriculture production, which we said has improved also production of food, and people were able to eat the balanced diet, and that helped them a lot, at least to increase their life expectancy, and so demographic revolution. Also, it paved the way to the rise of bourgeoisie class. Of course, we said that the capitalists who, people with no capital, they were able to accumulate capital first to become the petty capitalists, and because of their involvement in different sectors of production, by using the advanced science and technology, they were able to transform themselves to become the bourgeoisie class, and so on. My dear students, let's now come to the end of our lesson of today, and with these 3 questions, my dear students, I'm pretty sure that you can answer any other questions from this topic, and so let's come to the end of our lesson of today. Let's meet next time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Kipindi cha Darasa Online kimeletwa kwenu na Chuo Kikuu cha Sauti Mbeya.
Ili kupata matangazo yetu moja kwa moja kupitia simu yako ya mkononi, pakua application yetu ya Tanzania Safari Channel kupitia Google Store. Nenda kwenye search, andika Tanzania Safari Channel, itatokea ikiwa na nembo ya Tanzania Safari Channel. Ichague, alafu pakua. Ikishamaliza, ifungue. Basi moja kwa moja utaweza kufurahia matangazo yetu bila malipo popote ulipo duniani. Tanzania Safari Channel, tumerithishwa tuwarithishe.